Hi guys, Gerusek here and welcome back to the channel. Most traders draw trend lines by hand, and let's be honest, it's subjective. One person's trend line might completely miss what another sees, and that's a huge problem. If you want consistency, precision, and something you can actually code into a strategy, you need a smarter way. And that's exactly where a linear regression comes in. In this video, I will show you how to build a trend line that isn't based on guesswork, but on math and statistics. We'll cover how it works and how to implement it in MQL5, so you can start using it in your own systems as well. Now I have moved to the MQL5 IDE and we can start with the coding part of this tutorial. I have created a new expert advisor file. In this case, it can be an expert advisor file. It doesn't have to be a custom indicator, because what we will be doing is that we will basically calculate the trend line for the most recent data, and therefore we will be working on the onInit function or in the onInit function. So that's why. Okay, so let me just, sorry, I almost forgot, change the font to 18, so now everything should be nice and visible, and let's start. So the first step is to create an input in case we need any, and also some global variables. We will be needing one input, and that is basically the look back period or the analysis period, basically how many bars we want to use to calculate and fit the trend line on, and we can call it input analysis bars. And let's say 50 bars. Yeah, this can be changed later on, so it really doesn't matter which initial value it has right now. And then what we need to create is a bunch of double global variables that we will need in the process of calculating the trend line. So it will be sum x, which will be equal to 0 by default, sum y, which will be also equal to 0 by default, then sum xy, and then sum, in this case it's x to the power of 2, so x squared, but let's just call this x2, yeah? We can call it x2, I guess. Okay, so this is all we need for now. So let's move the right here, and let's start with the calculations. The first step is that we have to create a for loop in which we will loop through. We will start at 0, so index 0, and we will loop through until z is lower than input analysis bars, and we will increase the z variable with each iteration. Okay, so let's create one more variable inside the for loop, which will be, or two more variables inside the for loop. The first one will be called price, which is pretty obvious why. So the price variable will basically contain the information about a specific price for a specific index. And then let's also create a variable called x, which will be equal to z plus 1. Okay, so y plus 1? Well, we want the x to start at value 1, and we want to increase the x by 1, basically. So we just have to do this. X is our independent variable, price is our dependent variable. So just saying that for the, just stating that out. Okay, so then what we have to do is that we have to update the sum of x variable, which will be equal or plus equal to x. Then we also have to update the sum of y, which will be equal to price, so plus equals price. Then sum xy, so that's x times price. And then also x squared, which is x times x. Okay, so this is all we need in order to be able to calculate the linear regression basically, and therefore the trend line later on. Okay, so now what we want to do is that we want to calculate the slope and the intercept. So intercept is basically our starting point for the linear regression, or for the trend line, and slope basically measures how much does the trend line change at each point in time. Yeah, so if we have some trend line, so let me just show you how it looks like. So let's say that we have trend line like this. Yeah, you can see that it goes from one point to another. Yeah, so this is the starting point, this is the ending point. And what we basically want to know is if we go from this candlestick to this one, so we go one candlestick onward, how much will the line change? So that's the slope basically. Yeah, so that's what we have to calculate to be able to plot our own trend line. So let's do exactly that. So first we need to calculate the slope, because we need the slope to calculate the intercept later on. So slope is equal to, and let me just also create one local variable right here, which will be called n, and it will be equal to input analysis bars. So I'm just creating this variable n, so it's easier to do the calculations right here. So it's equal to n times, and now I hope I get it right, times sum of x, xy, minus the sum of x times sum of y, and we divide all of this by n times sum of x squared minus sum of x times sum of x. So this should give us the correct slope for our trend line. And then also let's calculate the intercept. Okay, and intercept is going to be equal to now, okay, I think it's sum of y minus the slope times sum of x divided by the number of bars. So yeah, this should be okay, I guess. So now we have the slope and the intercept, and these are the two only values that we need in order to be able to calculate the trend line at any point in time, basically. Yeah, so now we can work with this. Okay, so what I will try to do now is that I will try to plot a trend line, yeah, based on our linear regression, that will start at this index, so at a bar with index 50, which is right here, okay, and we will plot it. Okay, let's say this one. We will plot it to our current candlestick. So something like this. Okay. So first of all, we need the starting and the ending time. Okay, so or time 1, which will be equal to I.time symbol period current, and this will be just shift of analysis bars. Then we have time 2, which is equal to I.time symbol period current and shift 0. And now we have to calculate the corresponding prices for time 1 and time 2 based on our linear regression. So price 1, and now I also hope I will get this right. So it's intercept, which is our starting point. And now let me just think about this for now. I'm not sure if there is plus or minus, but I guess it should be plus. Of course it should be plus, because it doesn't make sense to put minus there. So it's slope, and now the slope times the number of candlesticks that we want to calculate this for, because this is the average change by one candlestick. So we want to multiply it by the number of candlesticks in our analysis, which is this one, and then price 2, which is equal to intercept plus slope. And since this is for the current candlestick, yeah, therefore we don't go, this is for the current one, therefore one candlestick, we just can leave it like this. So I hope I explained it quite well. If not, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is all the information we need, and now we can plot out the trend line. So yeah, let's create a name for the trend line, and we can say trend line tutorial. Okay, and I will also delete, before I plot anything new, I will delete the old trend line in case there is any. Okay, so we don't repaint on our chart if we were to try out different trend lines. So let's create an object. So object create 0, name is equal to name, and now object trend 0, and now time 1 price 1 time 2 price 2. So now I'm just inputting the time and price coordinates that we calculated right here. And this is all we need to do, to be honest, but I will also change the visual part of it a bit. So name object property, let's change the width to 4 so it's visible. And now we can also change the color to, for example, color orange red. Okay, so now if I compile this, everything looks okay. And now the only thing we have to do is that we have to try it on our chart. So it's expert advisor, and I have it under my YouTube folder, and it's called linear regression. So let's look for L, it's right here. So 50 bars, okay. So this is it. Yeah, so this is your best fit line for the last 50 lines. Okay. If I were to change this, for example, for 25 bars, you can see that now it will change. Okay, something happened. Why doesn't it change? Okay. There is an error for some reason. Let's go back to 50 bars because it doesn't. Okay, so I guess there is something that I didn't do right in here. So what could be causing the error? This is right, plus equals price. This is right. This is also right because we start at 1x times. This is also right. This is also right. This also has to be right because as you saw for yourself, it did plot it out correctly. So I guess the problem is this is also right. This is also right. The problem is with something right here with the plotting part, basically. Let me just delete this and let me try this one more time. So now this works correctly, so I'm not sure why it doesn't work when I change the period, but you can see that this is a correct linear regression trend line. Let's try this. Okay, so there is some issue with my code. I'm not entirely sure why this is happening, but I will try one thing right here. what I will do is that I will do this, and this should be okay. Now let me just delete this again. So trend line, we want to delete this one. Let's try one more time. Okay, so once again, okay, now it gets plotted out perfectly. So if I change the period, okay, so this will be quite interesting to solve because it's pretty strange, to be honest. So what we will do is that we will I can print out price 1 and price 2. So now we will just check out what's happening inside the code, basically. So yeah, let me just clear this. This is the print for this line right here, which is correct because this is the corresponding price. This is the corresponding price. So now when I change this to, for example, 55, the first price seems correct, but the second price does not. Okay, so now why is that? Well, this don't. And now if I refresh it, it works. Maybe this is quite strange. Because, like, do you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this on tick function. Just to... Yeah, and what I have to do is that I have to do this thing right here. Okay, so now it should get plotted out. And as you can see, we print this too many times. So this is quite okay. This is also quite okay. Yeah, so I guess where the issue was is that since this was on the global scope, okay, it got recalculated with the old values every single time, so then it just didn't fit. If I do something like 55 right now, it works correctly. Okay, so that was the mistake, and now you can see that everything works perfectly nice and correctly. So what can you do with this? Like, it shows you the slope. The idea is that if this value, if the starting value is higher than the ending value, there is a downtrend. On the other hand, for example, if we do this, if we do this for this number of candlesticks and the starting point is lower than the ending point, it's an uptrend. So you can, for example, use this for your own trend indicator. I guess I will make one based on the linear regression in the future, yeah, where I will just compare the slopes and I will plot out these slopes, for example, in the separate window. And what you can also do is that you can change, for example, this to be the low price. So now you will fit the low prices. Yeah, you can also do this to be the high price. So now the line will be a little bit different. Yeah. Well, what else could you do? Well, usually when we use linear regression, or not linear regression, but when we use trend lines, what we want to do is that we want to, for example, form a channel. Yeah, so for example, trend line right here, trend line right here. So this is little bit more tricky to do. Like, it works exactly the same way, but the only tricky part is that you cannot use high prices, low prices, or closing prices, but instead of these prices you have to find local highs and local lows and use that to you use those prices to simulate these channels. This might be a good idea or a good thing to do in the next video, I guess, because this is a little bit more practical. This only shows you the slope, but this can help you much more. So I guess this is what I will do in the next video. Anyway, this is it for this one. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will see you in another tutorial. Bye.